Well, 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 well. A day after Yamamoto spurned the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, and every other damn team that was interested in the guy and went all the way across the country to LA to join Otani, to join the super team. How do we all feel? How do we all feel? And I got to say, my emotions have changed. I don't want to say drastically, but they definitely changed since last night. Last night, I was extremely down. I didn't feel that great. I was upset about the move. But today, after seeing kind of like how everything transpired and looking forward into the future, I feel a bit different. I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why. Um, Main reason, I'm going to go over our leader, our owner of the team, Steve Cohen, and what I think and what I feel is a really substantial reason for us to be positive going forward. And I do feel an overwhelming sense of positivity. I don't know why. Um, I don't know why. The top three teams in the race, well, obviously the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Mets. I feel if I was a Yankee fan, based on what happened and based where the team was, I would feel a lot worse. But the Mets, we're going to go through some reasons why I don't feel that bad. First, priority rise. Let's kind of like evaluate Steve Cohen. What did he do in this process? What did he do well? What did he do well? Now, I have a very harsh expectation of Steve Cohen because I want Steve Cohen to do everything known to man to sign every player, whether it takes 400 million, 500 million, you're a rich billionaire, do it, right? So I go into every single signing that we're interested in feeling that we should get the guy because we have the money, right? My initial reaction last night was, all right, 325 million was how much it cost for the LA Dodgers to acquire him. Why didn't we offer 400? So that was my initial reaction, but it has changed. So Cohen reacted today in the media. He reacted literally within 24 hours of missing the guy. And I'll tell you, that is ultra rare. Usually when an owner misses out on a free agent, either one, you never hear from the owner, or two, you hear from the owner like 6 months or a year later, and he'll detail how, all right, we tried, we gave it our best. The fact that we already hear live comments from the man within 24 hours is actually a bit telling. It tells me, number one, how much Steve Cohen wanted this man. Number two, it really told me how much he truly like invested. And we see how he invested in acquiring. Look at this, folks. Imagine packing your bags and going all the way across the world because you want a player that bad. No, I haven't heard any other owner not only do this year, but I don't hear any owners do this ever. Whether it's the NBA, NFL, MLB, this is such an ultra rare occurrence. And luckily, and that's why I feel good in that respect. In that respect, we have an owner who's willing to do whatever it takes, whatever he needs to do to acquire his player. That's one. Now, number two, I'm going to go to some very telling quotes from Steve Cohen. And this was an article kind of detailed by Danny Abriano of SNY. And it's basically the title that I have on this video. Steve Cohen opens up on the Mets. Failed Yoshinobu Yamamoto pursuit. What's next, they ask him. And the title, obviously, we'll build it. It'll happen. So in the wake of the Mets' valiant but failed effort to bring Yamamoto to Queens, owner Steve Cohen weighed in the team's pursuit of what comes next. What comes next? So this is what Steve Cohen said. He goes, I think the whole organization tried our hardest, and someone was going to win, and someone was going to lose. And that's the way it goes. Cohen told this to Mike Puma of the Post. Cohen also said, I feel good about our efforts, and I left it all on the field. Life goes on. Life goes on. The Mets bid for Yamamoto was the same money as the Dodgers. It was $325 million over 12 years. And that's basically really kind of what it was. The Dodgers were able to secure a man who apparently wanted to go to the Dodgers the whole time. Steve Cohen, point blank, to the fans, I did everything in my power to secure the guy. The agent of Yamamoto, Josh Wolf, he represents many players on the Mets. He has a relationship with Steve Cohen. It is important for those two men to have a good relationship going forward. I don't know if it was believed between Steve Cohen and Josh Wolf that even if the Mets went to 350, 375, maybe it was always going to be a losing proposition. It was always going to be a losing proposition. But the fact that my owner did what he did, had him over for dinner, went across the world, and had the highest offer out there gives me a lot of confidence that going forward, we will be successful. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. You know, in the past, we had Billy Epler as our GM. Sandy Alderson started off this whole Steve Cohen tenure as our general manager / president. So we never really had the good pieces in place until this year. David Stearns was the guy that Steve Cohen always wanted. So this year, we fast forward to this year. David Stearns took over a ball club in salary cap hell. We went salary cap hell. We had a horrible showing last year. If we were selling anything to free agents about our consistency, about the fact that we could put a winning ball club on the field, we had nothing to sell them. Every free agent, whether it will be Shohei Ohtani, Yamamoto, they were going to have to take a leap of faith. Now, why are these gentlemen who are very, their brand is very important to them, their success, their career, their legacy is very important to them, especially the folks who come from Japan. Why would they take a leap of faith and go to an organization that hasn't showed or proven anything yet? We haven't. If Cohen was the manager, Cohen was the owner for a decade now, and we've been to the playoffs year in and year out, and we've shown or we've proved to everybody that we could be a viable winner, a sustainable winner, I would be upset. I would be more upset if we lost him. But it's Yamamoto. It's just really, if you think about it logically, the fact that we were even in it to the very end, I guess I have to be extremely pleased with. I have to, and I may be convincing myself. It may be a part of, maybe it's just therapeutic. But I think that the fact that we were in it to the end, the fact that we made the highest offer, the fact that I see my owner care so damn much that he's speaking to the media within 24 hours of losing somebody that he really wants. And think about this, folks. This is the first guy I believe that Steve Cohen really wanted. And Steve Cohen, a billionaire, $20 billion he's worth, he doesn't often miss. He usually gets what he wants. So this is probably a very tough feeling for the owner. I don't know how it's going to motivate the franchise going forward, but I can only say that it serves as good motivation. Because I don't think Steve Cohen wants to be put in this position. I think it's a bit embarrassing. I think it's a bit of something that he knows that if he's really thinking about this realistically, it's true right now. The Mets aren't in a position like the Dodgers were. And even if you think about it, the Yankees, yes, they won a lot of championships. But if you put all things even, they haven't won. Last year, they were horrible. They won 80-something games, but they weren't the Dodgers. The Dodgers have consistently won around 100 games in the last couple of years, and they are consistently getting better. And I mentioned this last night. The Dodgers won 100 games last year, and they went out and added Ohtani. They went out and added Glasnow, and they just went out and added Yamamoto. But on top of winning 100 games last year, the Mets won 70-something, and the Yankees won 80-something. So those two teams didn't didn't show in recent history that they were competitive. Bottom line. Bottom line. Okay, now what else can we draw from what happened last night? What else can we draw going forward that can be construed as a positive for us New York Mets fan? Now, I'll tell you one thing, and this was, I heard this on the radio today, and I heard this being bandied about. Now, if you're a Yankee fan, I would be a bit worried. And this is why I would be so damn frustrated if I was a Yankee fan. So disgusted. And Yankee fans are better than me because I haven't heard this perspective. Yankees offered 300 million for I believe it was 10 years, so that was 30 million a year to Yamamoto, right? I don't understand. They do this all the time. They expect a guy to take less because you go to the Yankees. It's been they always do this. They always do this. Now, if you want to get to that next level, and the Yankees already have a built-up rotation, I would be pounding my fist. Okay, if you would have matched your offer or went beyond and he went to LA, that's one thing. But I feel if he was looking to go to a storied franchise, the Yankees had so much more of an opportunity to acquire the man than the Mets did. So much more of an opportunity. So that's why I think it was a lost opportunity for them. But the reason why I bring this up in a Mets forum, a Mets channel, I'll tell you in a moment. I just want to thank everybody for stopping by. Whether you're watching this on replay or live, if you could like the videos because we've been growing tremendously because of you. I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a very fun time with these free agent signings, and obviously not for us, but it's been fun to cover nonetheless. All right, but if you like and subscribe, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to mix the live streams with the videos. I noticed with the live streams, we have more of an interaction, so it's a bit more fun. But nonetheless, stick around. Join the family. Okay, so what I was saying, while I would be concerned if I were the Yankees and a bit optimistic if I were the Mets, was this Juan Soto. Juan Soto undoubtedly is going to the highest bidder. He's going to the highest bidder, right? So regardless, knowing that, I don't think the Yankees are going to be able to re-sign this guy. I don't. I really don't. I could definitely see a world where the Dodgers already, I don't think they would be interested in Soto. I don't. So you have them really out. The Yankees, who aren't going to make the highest offer, I would really consider them out. I really do see if all things go the way the Mets, if we build the team, if our young players develop, Juan Soto may be the light at the end of the rainbow. He may be that pot of gold. Well, however the analogy goes. So I think this exemplifies why the Yankees really will not sign Juan Soto. It could prove me wrong, but I was a bit surprised that they didn't make a high offer to Yamamoto. I really was. I heard from everybody. The guy in the Pat McAfee show, I don't know, he was saying that it was a done deal, 9 years, $326 million going to the Yankees. There were some other people saying that it's a done deal. He's going to the Yankees. So, there was a feeling out there that the Yankees had a superior chance to acquire the man. So that's why I feel next year, if you want the Mets to sign Juan Soto, there is actually a very, very good possibility. All right. I just want to say hello to everybody in here. Robbie, Trump 2024, Man Overboard. Thank you for your comments. Yeah, so I got to say one thing. A lot of Mets fans are very, very logical, very, very rational. And I'm trying my best to be like that and be a little less, reactive, Now, with the Mets, And what I see, if you saw my Otani video about 2 weeks ago, that was a bit more reactive and not logical. But the reason why I was upset back then is because I said that the Mets in the last couple of years haven't really built a foundation, And I was upset because Steve Cohen's been here for a couple of years. Now, I think going forward, the productive thing to do is to separate Steve Cohen's tenure pre-David Stearns and post-David Stearns, or while David Stearns is here. I think we really have to forget what happened before David Stearns got here, because you didn't have the right people in charge. And when you don't have the right people in charge, you're going to have a mess. You're going to have a mess. There's no doubt about it. The way the payroll is, the way David Stearns inherited it, it was a mess. Like I said last night, the Dodgers were able to acquire Mookie Betts, Otani, and Glass now, and still have the same damn payroll that the Mets have today. How is that possible? It's really not possible. The only way it's possible is if you royally screw up the team in the last couple of years. So going forward with Stearns on board, I have to evaluate the team different. And I don't know if this might be a bit backwards, but these are World Series odds. I got it from betonline.com. So currently, with the Otani signing, with the Yamamoto signing, you have the Dodgers, obviously, as the favorites to win the World Series. You have them as the favorites to win the World Series going into 2024. You have the Braves as number 2. You have the Yankees as number 3. You have the Astros as number 4 with the Rangers, and the Mets, and I apologize, it's backwards. I got to find a way to fix that. You have the Mets all the way down at number 11 right now. So I surmise when David Stearns took over the team, he basically told Steve Cohen, we're going to build this thing the right way, which means a World Series. If we get hot and young players catch on fire, yes, anything can happen. But going all out, pedal to the metal, I don't think was really ever the plan. The only reason why we were in on a Yamamoto was 25 years old, and he fit our timeline. And investing in a guy like that was worth it. It was worth it for our brand. It was worth it for our team going forward. So I think that's why it fit. But these secondary guys like a Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, that's not going to happen. Because these guys are already in their 30s, and those players, the only team willing to invest in a guy like Montgomery and pay him $200 million is a team who has a chance to win right now. So, these odds really, they don't mean that much. Anything can happen. The Rangers didn't go into last year with good odds to win the World Series. So whoever put bets on the Rangers probably won a decent buck. Good job. But the Mets have a lot of work to do. Anybody who's seen my videos in the past, I've given the Mets thus far an F or an F minus for the offseason. Now I grade them on acquiring talent. Yes, they got, their depth pieces, but I'm grading them based solely on acquiring talent and how that talent translates into the Mets' possibility of winning a World Series in 2024. So that's basically how, I kind of evaluate the offseason. And offseason, we have a lot of work to do. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that later in this video. I just still want to talk about a little more Yamamoto reaction. Now, I covered this briefly. But anybody who's seen the contract offer that the Mets offered Yamamoto, really, we have to hold our heads high. That was a very strong offer. I was hearing, well, why not make an offer of like 370 million, 400 million? Why not do that? Now, here's the thing. If the guy does not want to come to the Mets, What are we doing here? If he doesn't want to play in New York, he doesn't want to play in New York. If Stern and Cohen weren't able to convince him that this is the place to be and this is the place to be where you would be happy, why would we give the guy $400 million for the guy to be miserable? That wouldn't work out for us long term. So you have to be really wise with this decision. Plus, we don't know if the Dodgers would have matched that. We really don't. So you have those two equations. And then, the third thing, Cohen being used. It was clear that Cohen was being used. So if you have a high offer in 325 and the Dodgers match it and Yamamoto, you feel Yamamoto is going to go to them, why are you going to keep bumping it up and be used as more leverage for Yamamoto to get even more money? It really doesn't make sense. And it's a bit embarrassing. It is a bit embarrassing. You essentially at that point, pretending like you have a chance to get Yamamoto when you know there's no way in hell Yamamoto will ever end up on your team. So that's why you don't continue going up the bid. And then also, too, you're not going to show guys for the future, hey, I can get an extra $100 million if I use Steve Cohen. So that's a no-no. The fact that we were within $25 million of the Yankees kind of puts us in a bit of respectability that there were three offers similar. But if you got Cohen's offer dangling at $400 million and Yamamoto accepting $300 million, first of all, that's embarrassing. If the guy, look at this, if Cohen made an offer of $400 million and Dodgers made an offer of $325 million and he still chooses to go to the Dodgers, that's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. If you offer the guy almost $100 million more and he still chooses to go to the LA, so these are things that you really got to kind of think about. You don't want to be used. You don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want examples going forward where other free agents could say, hey, let's do this to the Mets. So go forward with dignity, with your dignity intact, and come up with a new strategy going forward and target a guy who actually wants to stay in Queens. Come to Queens. That's the bottom line. There are other people out there. If you hang your head and say, and this is what I was doing, Yamamoto, like he's the last pitcher on earth. That's not a correct way to go about it. And luckily, there's some really great subscribers in this community. We've had back and forth. Everybody's brought up some really good perspective on this whole Yamamoto kind of situation. And thank you so much, because I think together we've come up with really like the best response to this. And the response is move forward and come up with a different plan of attack. That's it. And that's the bottom line. What's up, Juan? Yeah, so you're right. Let's see here, because that's pretty good. So Juan, you're right. Mets shouldn't even waste time anymore. Be straight up. Be straight up. Are you interested in signing? Yes or no? No, then goodbye. Yes, how much? And you know what? The Mets and these agents, they want the Mets to be involved. They want the Mets to be involved. So the Mets should be very direct with these agents saying, hey, if you're going to use us going forward, then we're not going to be involved in your future free agents, or we're going to be less likely to be involved. So let's be a little more direct. If you're going to use the organization, I take that as you're really a major, disrespect. So that Cohen being the richest owner, he could put a proclamation with these agents and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to be used. I don't want to be used. And they kind of have to respect that, because they know I got guys in my pool, players that want to be free agents going forward, that do want to go to the Mets, that do want to go to New York. And messing up that relationship with Steve Cohen in New York doesn't seem like it's the wisest thing to do going forward. So good point, Juan. What's up, BMW? How's it going tonight? BMW, you right. Was it true Cohen was on vacation? he should have been in person on the negotiation. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know if he was on vacation or not. I mean, I know that he Yamamoto went to his house on Saturday night, so he wasn't on vacation then. But I have no clue if he was on vacation. I think Cohen, the Cohens, they take vacation at this time of year because if you remember last year when Correa was potentially going to sign with the Mets, Cohen was on vacation at that time too. But the guy works all year. If this is the time where is off season to him, why not? That's why you got the president in place. I mean, like, you can't really tell me that Cohen didn't do enough. He went across the world. He invited the guy over, to have dinner on Saturday night. David Stearns is the president. He's got to be able to seal this deal as well. Hey, Ramirez ones. Thank you for your comment. So you're right. Actually, it's good for the Mets, making other teams spend more. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely not a bad thing having the Dodgers with all these major contracts on the books. It seems like it would limit them kind of going forward, although they're very ingenious in the way they put their books together. I mean, the deferred contract from Ohtani was like nothing we've ever seen before. So I give him all the credit in the world for being creative. So, I mean, but I just don't want other free agents in the future to use Cohen. Like Juan said, if you're interested, you have to establish that with the agent and the player. We have to get really down to like the nitty gritty. I don't want to be used. And even in the Yankees in the past, they've been in situations in the past as well where they didn't want to be used. They used to be the team that had the most money. Like, players and free agents, Scott Boras would say, we need to get the Yankees involved, the Red Sox. Those are the teams that would pump up the bidding. Now, these days, it's going to be the Mets, the Phillies. They got a lot of money. There's a lot of like really big market teams. Obviously, the Dodgers, they have a lot of money. The Yankees, they have a lot of money still. But a lot of these teams, they're not afraid to spend a lot of money. The Rangers in the past couple of years, they've been willing to dole out big contracts. I got to give them credit because the Rangers, they targeted their free agents with precision. The Corey Seager, it seemed like that was the best shortstop in that crop. Remember a couple of years ago, Carlos Correa, all those great shortstops, but everybody turned out to not do so well. Okay, so Robbie, you right. How many more billion-dollar players can the Dodgers afford that haven't proven themselves? I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yamamoto obviously hasn't proven himself yet, but I mean, he was a guy that, as a Mets fan, Yankee fans, we were all willing to take a chance on him based on like this what the scout said, based on how he performed in the World Baseball Classic, based on how he was evaluated. Like, he was really projected to be an ace. He was projected to be a top 5 pitcher in baseball. If all those projections were wrong, that could be. The guy could also get hurt. You don't know how sustainable his arm will be. He's got a small frame, but we were all willing. Everybody who made offers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, we were all willing to take the risk. We were really all willing to take the risk. Now, going forward, like, how many more contracts can the Dodgers put on their books? I mean, that's a very rich, wealthy organization. I believe a conglomerate owns that, so it's not just one owner. So those guys have a lot of money, and if they decide that if they target another player in the future, and that future player they deem that would have a big impact on their winning, I'm pretty sure they'll go for it. So that's the good thing if you're a Dodger fan, and that's where I hope the Mets eventually get to, because there's two sides of it. Number one, you have to be a franchise that's willing to dole out the money. That's number one. You have a ton of franchises. You see the Giants in the last couple of years, how much money that they offered free agents between Aaron Judge, Carlos Correa, and other. I don't know if I believe they offered Bryce Harper money a couple of years ago, but they've offered almost $1 billion worth of contracts, but the players just haven't been willing to go there. And you look at the Giants, they're almost in a better situation than us. At least they've won 3 championships, 3 World Series in the last decade or so, or a little more than a decade. So you have to be one in a position to dole out that money. And number 2, you have to be an attractive destination for these free agents to want to come to. So that is something that Steve Cohen and David Stearns and the front office have to heavily evaluate. How could we make ourselves more attractive for free agents to decide to sign with us? Is it, sometimes you get one player, if you get that one signing, let's just say you sign an Ohtani, then everybody else wants to come there. The LeBron James thing with the Heat, Miami, in Miami, when you had Wade and Bosh, everybody signed because Wade was there. Maybe you have a player that attracts you. The organization attracts you somewhere. You have the best this, the best that. The Mets have to evaluate what players these days value. What would attract these big market, these big marquee name guys? Because essentially the only players we really, really attracted is the older guys who are mercenaries, the Verlanders, the Max Scherzers. Those guys were desperate for every single cent because they knew that they didn't have much time left, not much gas in the tank. And Steve Cohen was this guy desperate. I'll give you 120 million, 40-something million a year. But we have to be able to attract the younger guys, the guys who could be here for the next decade. Now, we were lucky where we got, we made a trade for Lindor and we were able to secure him. But I'm talking about just free agent talent, working on attracting free agent talent. What's up, James? Okay, James, not a bad point. So after dumping Verlander and Scherzer last year, we look like the losers of a 4th place NL East team. Last year, and Robbie, I see you're writing about Epler. Epler, and anybody who's seen my videos in the past, I really despised Epler. I really despised Epler because he put us in such a bad position. Even at the trade deadline, right? We had to send so much money to the Rangers and so much money to the Astros just to acquire talent back. And even the talent that we acquired back, even with all the trades we made last year, we didn't acquire one pitcher that could potentially be in our rotation going forward. One pitcher. We acquired some talented offensive players, some nice outfielders, but you got to acquire at least one pitcher, whether the pitcher is 2 or 3 years away. I mean, one of the guys we acquired in the Eduardo Escobar trade, Coleman Crow, we traded him away. But, that wasn't a guy of substantial upside, at least in the near future. He was coming off Tommy John surgery. But, that was a bit disappointing as well. Every way you slice it, what Epler did to our team was devastating. Epler left us in shambles. We were almost a $300 million payroll going into this offseason. And if you looked at our team, we had holes all over. We didn't have a damn rotation. We had no rotation. Our lineup had holes. We had no outfield, and our team had a payroll of $300 million. Oh my God, Epler! The job Epler did was a disgrace. It's no wonder. And you know what? Epler supposedly left because of a BS allegation or whatnot. I don't believe that. It was, in my opinion, it was never working out with Epler and Stern. They have completely opposite philosophies, and Stearns could just look from afar like, this guy's a fool. Why do I want him working side by side with him? Yes, he had to be cordial. Yes, he had to be nice. Yes, he probably had to say, yes, I'll work with Billy Epler It seemed like Epler was liked by Cohen, but in terms of baseball minds, Stearns wasn't on the same page as Epler. Yep, James, good point. We no DH, no third base, no closer. Could argue we need a lot more. We need an outfielder, a couple outfielders. In terms of what Cohen's concerned about, Cohen is the owner. It's David Stern's job as the president with baseball operations. So yes, Cohen will be involved. I'm happy that he does this during free agents, but it's really David Stearns, folks. It's David Stern. You pay David Stern. I believe the guy is making 10, $11 million a year, maybe even more than that. It is his job to earn his paycheck right now. Right now, going forward, David Stearns has to earn his paycheck. Just like the Dodgers front office, just like the Braves front office, just like the Astros, just like the Rangers, our guy David Stearns has to start earning his paycheck right now. Okay. Okay. And here's my second point, third point, whatever. So here's what I think the management should do. Whether I believe that we're probably not going to say we're punting on this season, but it may appear like we're punting on this season. Now, whether that's the case or not, Mets fans, baseball fans, Mets fans, I believe, are very intelligent. The conversations, like I said, we all have are very high level conversations. If the Mets organization are honest about the plan going forward, we could take it. We could take it. If 2024, if we're going to somehow build this year, if we're going to transition to the youngsters, just so that 2025 and beyond, we will be competitive. That's one thing. That's one thing. So I would expect, because the fan base deserves it. If you go to Citi Field, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg to take your family, to take your friends, no matter how old you are. It is ridiculous the amount of money you got to pay. We have to invest a lot of money and invest a lot of time in this team. So we deserve to know what the heck is going on. If the Mets want to put the pedal to the metal and they want to increase their chances and they want to say we are going all out for a World Series this year, I expect you to make the moves that'll make you World Series competitors. Right now, we are not World Series competitors. We are not. We're not. We are 100% not even in the conversation. We're not even in the top 10 for like odds. Like, not that odds mean everything. I mean, last year we were like almost an odds on favorite to win, and we did horrible. So that doesn't mean anything. I just feel that the Mets should be open with their fan base on a direction. I know you can't, you can't, what's it called? I'm looking for a word. I mean, you don't want other teams to know what your moves are going forward, but there are ways to signal to the fan base what the heck is going on. There really are. Now, and I think this trend is going to remain forward. They're not going to overspend on guys like Snell and Montgomery. We spoke about that in our open. It doesn't make sense to invest in guys who are already in their 30s. Snell's 32 years old. He's been often injured. He's not a DeGrom. It's not like he's a homegrown guy who's a little older, who's often injuries, who's worth his value to the franchise is more because he's a homegrown guy. A guy like Snell, I would never go down that road. Jordan Montgomery is a nice pitcher. He's nice, solid, but the pitching market is way too out of control this year. It's not worth giving him that much money. Now everybody is they really want Imanaga. Imanaga is a name that you really hear from a lot of Mets fans. And so Imanaga would essentially be the consolation prize. I think it's really going to come down to how much money does Imanaga looking for? Like, where is the bidding on Imanaga? Is it going to be a Senga-like contract? If it's a Senga-like contract, I would be all in on that. I mean, I don't think based on the scouting that he may not be as good of him, but let's just say, he has a 3.5 earner and average, and he's a solid piece to that starting rotation. That is a huge help. So I wouldn't mind signing. And then, based on the fact that we don't really know him, he has that unknown upside. He really does. So that's a guy that I would look at. But if the bidding is out of control on him, I have the same philosophy that it's really not worth it. He's unknown, and I'm not going to waste a lot of money on a guy that I don't really know where my money's going to right now. And going forward, I don't know how everybody feels, but I feel, like I said, there's pre-Stearns and post-Stearns. I'm holding David Stearns and Steve Cohen accountable. Steve Cohen made a bunch of promises to us fans, that we were going to win a World Series within 5 years. Now, I believe that was a bit hyperbole. I don't believe that, honestly, he said this after he made that comment. It's hard to win. Every team wants to win. So for you to guarantee a win within 5 years was a bit hyperbole. I believe he was trying to juice up the fan base, get us all excited. So I'll give him a pass at that. I'll give him a pass at that. But we do need to win. We do need to win as soon as possible. I expect a winner. We invested almost $400 million last year. We're building up our analytics department. We're building up our farm system. We're investing all this money and obviously a new president. We're putting all new front office people in place. We are investing a crap load of money to be successful. So I expect success. Hopefully everybody else, all us Met fans, expect success as well. And that's what you really need to do. Like the Dodgers, but the Dodgers before 2011, 2012, when they were bought by this ownership group, they were fluttering. They weren't successful. It's only because their new ownership group has changed the philosophy, changed the culture, changed the way they do business. That has made them successful over the last decade. The Mets haven't found that yet. We haven't. Was last year a good step forward in terms of building up the farm? Yes, I think that was good to see. For the first time, we weren't desperate at the trade deadline. We were obviously acquiring people, but in years past, we were making all these desperate trades. The Javier Baez trade obviously sticking out as one of the worst trades, probably the worst trade in the Steve Cohen tenure. Then you got the trade with the Giants. I forget the guy's name, but you had that crappy guy going to the Giants, and we literally had to trade away a bunch of players. But nonetheless, we gave a Pete Crow Armstrong for Javier Baez, just a 2-month rental. We don't know how PCA is going to turn out for the Cubs, but he's a top prospect. He's a guy that would have looked nice if he was still in our farm. It's stuff like that we can't do. That's what losing organizations do. And at that point, Javier Baez was never going to put us over the top. It seems so silly. It was just a desperate attempt to get anybody at the trade deadline. You didn't get a Juan Soto. You got a Javier Baez. Yep. Juan, thank you so much. That's the guy I was looking for. The Darren Ruff trade. That was terrible. So those were the two worst trades, the Darren Ruff trade and obviously the trade for Javier Baez. So those two trades were just unacceptable. Those are the trades that losing organizations make. Okay. Now, here's another topic. This topic was on, I believe, WFAN, and I think Sal and BT were talking about how do fans come up? Should Stearns and should Cohen care what like the fans think? Should they care what you and I think? Now, one guy was saying yes, one guy was saying no. So I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it's about 50-50. You should wholeheartedly care what the fans think because the fans are the ones paying everybody's paychecks. I mean, everybody, we are injecting so much damn money to that franchise, but you can't care to the extent where you're going to do whatever the fans say. But you have to care what the fans say. You have to. You think the fans were crying for Ohtani? Yeah. And then they got Ohtani in the Bronx in the last couple of years. 3-4 years ago, the Yankees weren't spending on a starter. They weren't. Every single year, a starting pitcher would go by. They finally got Garrett Cole. They don't win a World Series yet, but still, their rotation is getting better. And now they're able to deal off their pitching prospects to get their Juan Soto. So if you spend money the right way, listen to fans if they say something that makes sense, it can improve your favorability with the fans, which is good. You'll have more people come out of the ballpark. You'll make more money. So, you got to care what the fans say to some extent. But obviously, you can't listen to the fans all the time, but you definitely got to care about the fans. What's up, TC? So you make okay. I like your point. So Stearns and Epler equals 0 titles of league championships, maybe 1 division for Stearns with the Brewers. Scrubs. So that's it's really tough to put Stearns in the same conversation as Epler. So Epler's a guy who failed in Anaheim and he failed with the Mets. Stearns is a guy who got the job when he was 30 years old in 2015 with the Brewers. I think a year or two later, he made the playoffs. And out of his 8-year tenure with the Brewers, he made the playoffs 5 times. Now, in the last 30 years, the Brewers only made the playoffs like 2 or 3 times. So this guy in his first 8 years literally almost tripled the amount of playoff appearances. So were they World Series contenders? It's debatable, but were they competitive? Yes, year in and year out, they were competitive. Now, if Stearns had the ability to precisely pinpoint adding a major free agent here or there, I think the Brewers could have been World Series favorites, but it was a small market organization that he still was managed to build into a consistent winner. If he had that extra payroll like the Yankees or the Mets, I wholeheartedly believe that he could have been a World Series contender. So it's really hard to equate him to Billy Epler, who had the money. Epler had the money in Anaheim, and or LA, and he had the money in New York, and he just made things worse in each of those situations. Yeah, TC, no problem, of course. Okay, now the biggest question I've been getting so far is how do I feel about the depth moves, about all the like low level signings, um, Adrian. How I mean that I'm going to separate that trade from the signings because that trade is a bit different than the signings. That trade you have a chip in Coleman Crow and you turn that chip into 2 pieces that can potentially help you for 2024. Whereas Coleman Crow was injured and we don't know how that injury would affect him going forward. So I actually do like that trade, but the other signings, I have the Mets at an F minus on the season because yes, they acquired depth. Yes, they acquired some nice pieces, but in terms of adding actual talent that moves the needle and that improves the team for 2024, I don't really see that happening thus far. If the Mets swing some surprise trades, now those depth signings look a little better. But thus far, I have to evaluate how those signings helped our team and improved our odds at getting better right now. Right now, it's all about talent. It's all about talent. If you have 9 guys going up against the Dodgers and all the guys that we acquired right now, they're less talented than a lot of other teams. We're probably right now ranked, odds wise, we're ranked as the 11th best team in Major League Baseball. And the reason why we're ranked that high is because we have Steve Cohen with the ability to inject money into the team, the ability to take on contracts, bad contracts, acquire talent in different ways. That's why I believe we're ranked number 11, which is in the top half of the league. Obviously, we're the top third of the league, but I don't even think we're that good. I don't even think we're the 11th best team right now. I don't. So I think we have a lot of work to do. Extremely crazy amount of work to do. It's not, it's not even funny. Like the rotation right now, it's really all about pitching. It's all about pitching. We have Senga and a bunch of question marks. A bunch of question marks behind Senga. And Senga, we didn't sign Senga to be an ace. When we signed Senga last year, we signed him to be a number 3 in our rotation. Realistically, now we're relying on the guy to be an ace. I'm not crazy about that. I'm not crazy about that. TC, I appreciate the donation. I really do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. It really does. Thus far, I try to inject anything I make back in the channel. I really try my best. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, and Senga, I mean, he was a lot and I say this all the time. If Senga was a free agent in this market, his contract he got last year would have at least doubled it. At least doubled it. So, that's you're kind of a product in terms of your contract of the crop, the free agent crop you're in right now. If you're a good pitcher in this free agency when there's no good pitchers, you're going to make a crap load of money. Next year, if we could somehow get the next year and build successfully, next year there's going to be a lot more pitchers available, a lot more pitchers. So hopefully we could put something together, somehow develop the young guys. I mean, you got to see the young guys. You got to bring up the young guys, the pitchers that we have. I want to see Blake Tidwell. I want to see Dominic Hamill. I want to see Mike Vassell. I want to see Christian Scott. I want to see the pitchers that we have in the minor league. I want to see how they perform. Whether you put them in the bullpen or you have them spot start here or there, we have to see talent-wise what they could do. Now, the other side of that equation is people say that if you bring up these pitching prospects and they absolutely stink, and if you want to trade them, their value is shot. Well, we're not really looking to trade any pitching prospect. That's the position we're in right now. You don't trade any pitching, no pitching. That's a no-no right now. So don't even worry about that. Worry about developing these young guys. These young guys that you drafted for a reason, whether it was Billy Epler or whoever drafted the guys, they're in an organization. It's our job. It's David Stern's job to evaluate these guys and to develop these guys because that's how you're going to win. You need to develop pitching in-house. It is so expensive to buy pitching these days. Pitching, and I always say this, it's supply and demand. Good pitching will always be in short supply. The demand for these players will be astronomical. Oh, I actually like this comment. I really do. All right, so this is from C. Correa. Um, thank you so much for the comment, number one. But this, I really like this comment. And this is all Mets fans feel this. So the top part of it, all right, so let's go. So the Mets in 2024, unfortunately, will be the East Coast LA Angels. So I'm not sure about that, but second part of this comment, I 100% agree with. If we're in 11, bet the season OU right now because we're not winning that much. Trout gets marked, as does Alonso. So that's what I 100% agree with. It is unacceptable. Last year, the amount of time Pete Alonso got hit was unacceptable. Unacceptable. Good teams don't let their guy get hit every other game. What happened to Pete last year when he was on pace to hit 60 home runs and then he was hit? It was just crazy. Pete has always pitchers always go up and in, and there's never a repercussion. If you're a Mets pitcher, the very next time their batter comes up, their number 3, their number 4, a hitter comes up, you got to go up and in. You can't let your best hitter take these beatings game in and game out. That is unacceptable. Now, I haven't watched many Angels games, but if that's happening to Trout, and I would assume that it's going to happen next year because, now he doesn't even have Ohtani in the lineup, that you cannot have. Now, that's another reason why you need a good fifth hitter to protect Pete, because these guys aren't afraid to put Pete on base. They're not afraid to hit him because there's no damn repercussion in the fifth spot. You need a guy who's going to strike fear into the opposing team. Now, that's where you find out, like, who would it be? I think the best candidate to fill in that number 5th slot is either one of our young guys that can develop. I was hoping in the future maybe it could be a Mauricio or an Alvarez, or it has to be in a trade. Because if you look at the free agent market right now, JD Martinez would actually be nice. He would actually be nice. I don't know if he would sign with us. That's why a couple weeks ago or a couple of days ago, I think it was a week and a half ago, I put out a video on Justin Turner. The title was a little bit, what'd you say? The title was not the most accurate title, but my point was that Turner would be a really good fit on this team. He would solidify the third base position until Mauricio comes back. And Turner had damn good production for his age last year. Like, he really did. He was a run producer. He had like 96 RBIs. You put him in the number 5 or 6 position, he could make batters pay. Batters pay that, he's a very smart hitter. And that's the guy I would see might be willing to come to the Mets before JD Martinez may be willing to come to the Mets. Yeah, absolutely. We need a good hitter to help Lindor and Alonso. And whether it's Turner or somebody else, we need somebody good. I think that's the trade that Stearns has to make. We may not foresee that trade right now. I'm pretty sure it's a piece that, none of us are thinking of. Jorge Soler, that's another name I keep hearing. But if I remember right, and I haven't followed Soler's career, like, how does this guy strike out? What's his on-base percentage? I'm looking at it right now. I know he hits a crap load of home runs, but I just want to evaluate him on a whole. So last year in Miami, he had 36 home runs, 75 RBIs. He was a 250 batting average, on base 341, slugging 512, OPS 853. So he had a good slug, good OPS. Average, that's about like kind of league average these days, 250. Good power. But let me see these advanced numbers. And all these players we're talking about right now, they're more or less bridge players, especially if they're outfielders. We got guys who could potentially come up in the next, wow, okay, year or so, like Drew Gilbert. But I'm looking at Jorge Soler's advanced numbers, and right off the bat, if anybody wants to pull this up, I'm looking on Baseball Savant, and he's got actually some pretty nice advanced numbers. Really, like, go pull this up on 2023, Jorge Soler, like, everything's red in the top percentage of the league. expected WOBA 93rd percentile, expected batting average 62nd percentile, expected slug 94th percentile, average exit velocity 81st percentile, barrel percentage 91st percentile, hard hit 84th percentile, sweet spot 72, chase rate 72, whip rate 37, K rate 33. So, folks, this is the only reason I kind of like doubted him, because I figured he strikes out a lot, and he does strike out quite a few times. He's in the 33rd percentile in Ks, but besides that, walk percentile, he's in the 83rd percentile, so he has a good walk rate. I mean, he's a guy that if he's willing to take a short-term contract, I would definitely feel comfortable with that guy. Yeah, TC. When you compare it to other power guys, but no, actually, like I haven't really looked at him. Looking at his advanced numbers, he had a phenomenal 2023. I mean, him backing up Pete, compared to guys like Vogelbach and other guys, that's if we can add a Soler and a Turner, I mean, that at least beefs up our offense, and at least it gives the young players, it takes a little pressure off them. Now, if you want to eventually start the year with Turner at third base and eventually hand the position over to a Beatty or a Vientos as they develop, I don't want to. I'm not a guy who wants to give the position to Beatty. Beatty last year, we kind of gave him the position and he failed. So I want him to earn the position. I want him to earn it. Now, if he earns it from Turner, that's one thing. If you take a position from Turner, that means that Beatty is more productive than him. That's good. You push Beatty. You have him develop. Turner can help him develop too, and Turner will add that extra depth. It'll add depth, talented depth. We know Turner is talented. He's the veteran presence. So those are moves that I like. If you add those two bats, I would significantly that would significantly upgrade our offense. Okay. All right. Okay. So going forward, we need to do a lot of work. Bottom line, we need to do a lot of work. Hopefully, the Mets are regrouping right now, putting Plan B into effect. I foresee next week being very slow. I really do. If moves happen, it's only because the whole market was held up by Yamamoto and Ohtani. Because moves usually don't happen between Christmas and New Year's. But this year, just because there's a lot of moves that haven't been done, we may see an increased activity. So going forward, I think a lot of stuff, we're going to have a lot of movement in January. The Mets still have a heck of a lot of stuff to do. I'm not going to accept mediocrity this year. Fans deserve the Mets to be competitive. The Mets should be competitive. We were promised they were going to be competitive. So every single thing we're going to analyze, and we're really going to push the Mets, because the Mets, I want my team to have a better chance every year to be successful and to win the World Series. It is really unacceptable for us to be towards the middle. It really is. It really is. Dodgers, Braves, and Yankees, those are the teams I want to compete with and I want to be able to beat. I don't care who's on the team. I don't care if it's Ohtani. I don't care Betts. I don't care Yamamoto. We have to find a way where, come up with a plan where we could be successful and where we could be the victor. That's the bottom line. So let's see. Edward, I just want to say I see you. That's actually a great comment. If we're not going to have elite pitching, the murderers row on the batting lineup, definitely do that. Protecting Alonso, I believe, is essential. Essential. So that's an amazing point. I love that. Robbie, very nice. All right, so I'm gonna get going. We're a little past an hour. Everybody in here, I thank you so much. If you can hit the like button on your way out, it always helps the channel. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do a mix of live streams and videos. I like the live streams because I like the interaction. I think it's very important, especially for us Mets fans. And it's part of the reason, like, why I wanted to start this channel. Thank you again for all the comments. You're wonderful. You're what makes this fun. You really are. Happy holidays. Enjoy everything. Have fun in the stores, home, however you do your shopping. But thank you so much. Have a great day. Let's go Mets. And I will speak to you very, very soon.